We are live, and today we're going to be talking about how to create better YouTube. YouTube. Uh, I'm off my rhythm today, Jonathan.
Sorry about that. Yeah, we're talking about LinkedIn newsletters.
No, it's distracting. Your thing is reverbing.
Is it?
That's how you know I'm an auditory learner because any little noise.
That's
It
crazy because I
was.
have. Is it better
Now
now?
it's not. Now it's not. Okay, so let's
Oh,
pretend you didn't
okay.
see that part.
You
We
didn't.
are
Yeah, I didn't tell you.
yeah. We are live and we're going to be talking about how you can create better LinkedIn newsletter thumbnails. Jonathan is going to show you some evolution of some creators you may know, including ourselves. And the whole point of today is to teach you a process and inspire you to just start thinking about how powerful testing these thumbnail styles is, but also not letting uh aiming towards perfection at the start to stop you from publishing. So I think that's the point for today, and I want Jonathan to introduce himself. If you haven't seen him on any of our previous lives, go ahead, Jonathan.
It's Jonathan Green, and the next 20 or 30 minutes, we're going to show you how you can create amazing newsletters without it being hard and start to get a lot more viewers, a lot more attentions, and actually get success from your LinkedIn newsletter.
I love it. So let's I'll bring up the screen and I can still hear it a little, Jonathan. I don't know if it's me or you.
I don't know because I have a setting. Let me just check my settings again to see if I can make it even better. Better?
And it only happens when I go on a little, like, when it's just my voice for probably like 20 seconds.
How
Technical
about
diff.
now?
Yeah, it's not doing it now.
Is it
So
better now?
okay, yeah. All
Okay.
right, perfect. So I'm gonna bring up Jonathan's screen and we're gonna start.
Yeah, so this is my very first LinkedIn newsletter 10 months ago, and there are so many problems with the font, with the box on it, with the picture of me. And the point is, everyone starts out like this. There's this big thing we do, which is I see people talk this all the time, is that we compare someone else's on stage to our backstage. We look at someone 10 years in and say, why am I not as good as them on the first day of trying? It's like, well, they've been 10 years of evolution, right? So it's okay to start bad. And so originally, I just took a picture, stuck it in this random template, and kind of changed the shape. What I switched to after that was I took a bunch of pictures of myself and cropped them all out. And so I have like a folder with like 200 pictures of me doing different poses and different shirts inside of my Canva. And I would try and get, like, but you never have the pose you want, right? So I just like did, and then I would outline them. So first I outlined in blue, and that didn't really work. Then I switched to, and this started being getting a little better, where I would do a white outline around it. That I'll stick with that for a while, and then a picture of whatever I'm talking about. And then for my live streams, this is the design I have. And what I want you to see is that I'm trying a lot of different things. So for the live stream, if it's the telling people there's a live stream coming up, it would be in green. And if it was a review of it or the text from it, it would be the purple one afterwards. Just trying different ideas. And there's this huge jump though. Like the pictures of me are always darker than the background. But then I started to play around with things. Like this one did really well for me. I like this one a lot, like an image I made in Midjourney, and adding different styles, but I'm just testing different templates. So my evolution goes through a lot of different designs that are all different, and it's okay to start out with that. Like the cool thing is I'm probably going to go back and redo all of these. Now I look at them now and think, oh, maybe it's time to fix it, because there's about 50 of them. And I just was trying a lot of things to figure out what worked for me. When I started doing images I created and more showing AI content, it just felt better for me, as opposed to the pictures with me. They look a little bit 1980s as I look at them now.
How did you
But
know what styles to test? Did you just look at like other creators in the AI space and model those styles, or did you take inspiration from other niches?
yeah, so mostly I take my inspiration from YouTube. That's where I start from. So you see a lot of YouTube inspiration, but the problem with YouTube, and this is something I'm still working on, is that YouTube is not the same kettle of fish. So YouTube is a lot more action, a lot more words on the page, a lot more. You have a shorter attention span, so you have less time to catch someone's attention. So sometimes I had an idea that would kind of look like I'm being erased by the green screen, but as you can see, it didn't exactly come off the way I envisioned it. The limitation of my ability, but but a lot of these are all Canva templates. I'm testing a lot of Canva templates, and sometimes I'll put a lot of effort in where I'm using 2 different pictures and putting a line between them, so that's why they look different. And then I started to play around. This is when I began to play around with art flow. As long as you don't look at the fingers, it's a pretty good picture. This is one of my better ones. I look great in this picture, right? But the challenge is when you build it yourself, to get the text box and to get you to kind of have it all go together is a little bit challenging. So this is my evolution. And once I find a template I like, see that like diagonal, I'll use it over and over again for a while. Then I tried another template a couple of times. And that's really what I recommend is just try a couple of templates. You can always go back and change it. You'll see I often will do the same template 2 or 3 times in a row.
Mhm.
Same thing here. So I know who I am, that this is the same template. I just move the text to the middle. Then once it had an arrow, I was like, oh, maybe every picture needs an arrow in it.
And
You just try.
this is
Yeah.
important because if you leave this empty, for those of you who may not be so familiar with LinkedIn newsletters, a LinkedIn newsletter is an article that is also sent via email to your subscribers in their inbox. If you don't put an image inside of the actual article when you're writing it that is under your newsletter, then it will be like this ugly gray box when it's delivered in the inbox. And then I think it's also important to understand that the images that you put on your LinkedIn newsletters they don't predicate whether people are going to open them in the actual email, but they could affect, are they going to actually read the email? Does it entice them? And then on the front end side, if someone goes to your LinkedIn, like the real question is, do these images increase my authority? Do they make me seem more like an expert in what it is that I am selling or the problem that I'm helping people solve, or do they not? And I think that, like Jonathan's saying, it's a journey to get there.
Yeah, the most important thing to know is that that first banner image you put at the top, that's what people see in the feed that causes them to click or not click. When they see an alert under their LinkedIn notifications, it's the same image. So it really makes a difference. And the 2 things you want to kind of think about, I think the most important things to know is number 1, stop the scroll. It's interesting enough that people look at it. And the second element, which is really important, is that people will start to recognize you. So the
Mhm.
one problem with me constantly changing it is that you unless I'll have to see a bunch and then you start to catch that it's my style. But once I started using pictures of me in all of them, so it's always me, suddenly that creates the consistency element. And I noticed a big spike right around here in my subscribers and people coming back and back because now it's me in every single picture. You can start to catch that it's always me on the right, and then there's a piece of text on the left. Even if I'm changing the template for the text, we starting to see that consistency. And sometimes I'll mix it up because I'm demonstrating a specific thing. So I'm talking about Leonardo's new anime template, so I have to use an anime image, or I'm demonstrating an in painting element. But otherwise, it's me on a motorcycle being chased by a shark in front of an exploding submarine. That matches my personality. That's even me as Shakespeare. So unless it's me demonstrating a specific technique like I am here, it's a picture of me. So the consistency comes from that. And even when I use an image of a lady, it's the same woman here because I'm
Mhm.
teaching a lot of consistency elements. So I use that element. Um, as I've gotten closer and closer to what I really like, then I started thinking I was using this textile a lot, but I think I want to change this because it's like not quite the right font. So I play around with different ideas and I'm still doing it, but I'm getting closer. And then here are some more advanced templates I worked from. So ChatGPT's 10 Commandments, AI News of the Week, figuring out, do these boosts, right? Do they work? Are they catching it or are they too YouTubey? That's really the kind of end of the spectrum I'm at. And then here's a design that I had someone design custom for me on Fiverr for YouTube, and you can see big jump in numbers, right, for at that time. So whenever I have a custom design, it tends to do a lot better. So this one I spent so much time on to put this together because it kept making the giant pictures of me nude. That's why I have to put me blocking it because I could not get it to do. I don't know why.
Oh
Sometimes
my.
Artflow just gets in one of those modes. And but that's the thing. And then it's not always my favorite image that people love. I never know what people are gonna like. Here's another design that was done by someone else. And you can see whenever it's by I pay an artist, you get a really great design. But if you've watched our previous live streams, I use Artflow to generate the image of myself. So this is an Artflow image, and then the artist works on top of it. And
And
the
if
same
you're
thing here.
watching on YouTube, like the live and give it a heart. And after this training, you could go watch our Artflow training. Maybe we'll dip into a little bit of Artflow today. But it's the app that Jonathan is using to create these AI images of himself, where it maintains the consistency of like looking like himself in that environment, in that style. And I think that's that's definitely the place where you're at now, Jonathan, because whenever I see a thumbnail, even if it's the end of the day and my eyes are tired, if I see the design, I know, oh, that's Jonathan's article. So it's definitely working.
Yeah. So that's where I'm finding my consistency and starting to find then once I figure out what I'm gonna do for the text consistency, then I'll be kind of locked in. So that's the last part I'm figuring out.
So
But
one
we can look
question,
at
how did you know, just for everyone watching because they may not know, how do you know if you're going towards the design that people like? What was the metric that you measured? Was it likes? Was it the shares? Was it the internal article views? What was it?
so there's two things I look at because most of my articles are also a video on YouTube. So what the cool thing about YouTube is I just got invited into the YouTube thumbnail split tester, so I'll upload 3 images and it will pick the winner.
Hmm.
And in the past, I had a paid tool that was doing that. So I would get a lot of the data for my winners from YouTube. So I'd make 3 to 5 images, pick the winner, and then that's what I would use on LinkedIn. Now I definitely look at engagement and views. Those are the two most important things. People don't engage with my articles very much. They tend to with my posts, I get a lot more engagement. So what I really look at is the ratio of um, people that saw it, like in impressions to views.
Okay.
That's really what matters to me because then I go, this person saw it and then clicked on it. So
Hmm.
some of these have gotten closer. Like a recent one had 75%. So 3 out of every 4 people who saw it in their feed clicked on it. To me, that's a win. That's what I look at. And we're, some people, and we'll show you another example of someone who gets a lot of engagement on their post, but they have a much larger audience to me. But that's what I really look at is did the image work? Because the purpose of the image, this is really important, is just to get them to click on the article. That's the goal. If the article is not good, then they're not going to engage, right? So that's a measurement of the article. It's a second thing. And that's a different part of the process. And we sometimes will, same thing with a headline. You send an email, the subject line is to get someone to open the email, not to get the rest of it is up to the email itself. So that's really how I look at it.
Right.
So another cool direction, I love what you're doing, is
Wait,
to create
scroll
a
all the way down, Jonathan. Show them how bad they were.
get
I used the same gray and black and white thumbnail for like a year. So one of the things that I want to say is if you can only in your business, and a lot of these tools were not available at that time, context. So I think that you should be able to diversify your thumbnails a lot easier now. But if you can't take on any more, you only have the bandwidth for devoting 2 minutes a week to your thumbnail. I would do kind of what Jonathan advised, create one template and at least just change the title. This was my template for like a year.
and it's the thing is, I think that's really the important lesson here is that okay is better than nothing. Like a bad thumbnail now is better than no thumbnail because sometimes we try to go, it has to be the perfect thumbnail or it can't post. Mm, it's not that important, right? Something is better than nothing because you at least are getting some momentum and all you're doing when you don't have anything is losing yours. But I think that it's interesting. Again, same thing. We can see your evolution that you go from black and white picture to a color picture. The text goes to white text on a black background. Then it's a purple background with a different picture. But you can see this. You can use the same picture over and over and over and over again. You're not locked in.
Mm-hmm.
And then exact same thing. Try a different little bit of text to see how it works. So just realize that even people with huge followings like Shanae has, it's not always there. I mean, I really like these because I really like
Yeah, well, those were
the I can see
designed.
this is your
So that
YouTube
was the
era.
designer.
Yeah, I can tell when you entered your YouTube thumbnail designer era because this one's really cool. Like they really pop. But I think the more I spend time on LinkedIn, the more I think for these images, less text is more.
Mhm.
I've just
Yeah,
been
you're
thinking about that. See, you dropped to 2 words. Same thing here. Like these longer ones, because people, I don't know. I think that people tend to on LinkedIn read the little description more than they look at the text on the image. The image stops them and then they look at the rest of it.
I think you're right.
This is like an amazing YouTube thumbnail, but I just think that LinkedIn is different. And I know that that's why you started simplifying. Like, so if we go back up to what's
Exactly.
more recent, starts to get thing really simple. LinkedIn 2024 free offer. And then we have a
Well,
lot of
we have
these
a
where it's
few
just,
that were
yeah, maybe these could use a headline, something.
No, I
But
think
see right
those
here.
were marketing emails.
Yeah.
Disregard, disregard.
So let's go up to, we start to get to what you're doing now because you found your rhythm and it's definitely boosting, right? You're getting a lot more momentum and
Mhm.
Shabbat said LinkedIn growth, who's active on our LinkedIn network. So, and then we have another YouTube thumbnail testing, and that's important to see that even people that have the biggest followings are always testing. Like I know that some really big channels on YouTube will make 50 to 100 thumbnails and test them. If they have enough audience, they'll change the thumbnail every 10 minutes. So don't be afraid to change it. Don't be afraid to test it. And then you can have a simple rhythm. Just have 2 versions, right? With the pictures on the
Mhm.
right and the left, and it just rotates so people know who it is. One more that I want to show that's really interesting is my friend Phil's channel. He just started his newsletter a couple weeks ago, been really successful, and you can see exactly when I had a talk with him. So this is
I
when
know.
he was using the
It's
picture
like
over and
4
over
of
again.
them in. It was less than a week.
Yeah, so he does all of these, and I was like, "What are you doing?" And then so here's the jump. So you can see right here, 33 comments. Then as soon as he starts playing with Artflow, 61 comments, 96 comments. And what I think this is something that's very interesting is he doesn't put any text on the thumbnail. So you you can always learn from other people testing your ideas is that he's like if they're very fun. He's having a lot of fun with it. They're very dramatic. They're always pictures of him and
And he
these are
doesn't
all
get
art.
stuck in the weeds. Like I find
Yeah.
myself getting stuck in the weeds sometimes with art flow with where it's like, but that looks too fantastical or doesn't look exactly like me. Like Phil just delivers. Like if it doesn't
Yeah.
look exactly like him, so be it. It is what it is.
Yeah, like, at first, this picture until you look at the left hand of the scientist and realize that something horrible has happened to him, that it looks solid, right? And here at first, the one with the double thumbs up, count the fingers. He only has 3 fingers on each hand. Like, it's doing these crazy mistakes, but but I think and that's the thing is I'll generate, like, 50 or 100 images and pick the winner. He's like, "Oh, I'll just pick" all he just makes 4 and picks 1. And I think
Yeah.
there's a lot
See,
to be
I'm
said
more like
for
you, Jonathan. We need to be more like him a little bit because if the
fast
fingers
action.
weren't perfect, then I'd generate 100 more just because it would drive me crazy.
Yeah. Whereas like this one here about a toothache was a really good article. So there's a lot to be said. So we kind of wanted to show you 3 different versions where mine are really extreme. Shanae's are more restrained and consistent. And then Phil's are like, I'm just gonna make an image and throw it up and just focus on just getting a post up every day. So see that each of these different styles, like mine is the most work. It doesn't have to be that way. Like I'm honestly thinking that I may just start, I'm gonna probably test just putting up the image just
Mhm.
like Phil does to kind of see if that can work for me as well, because the most important thing is the testing. Is that I always say, I don't know if an idea is going to work until I test it. And
Mhm.
all of these designs from all of us were designed using Artflow, which has an amazing free tier, and using Canva, which most people have these days. And Canva has so many templates. I tend to look at a YouTube thumbnail template because they don't have, unfortunately, LinkedIn newsletters as a category for templates yet. And then
Mhm.
I'll just resize it to be the correct size for my newsletters.
Yes, and I just think that I wanted Jonathan to come up and share this today because you had me thinking of Phil. Uh because I think that I see so many creators. I don't know if you see this, Jonathan, business owners specifically, who are like, oh, I didn't do my newsletter this week. I didn't publish it because I want the thumbnail to look like this. And then that backtracks them a whole other week and they're just not delivering. They're not publishing because it's stopping them.
Yeah. The most important thing with your content is the consistency. People will like when I listen to a podcast, if they publish their episode 10 minutes late, I notice. I was like,
Really?
"No, it's supposed to be out Friday." Yeah, because you know when they publish. I know all the things I listen to. I go, there's one show I listen to, I know they publish an episode every Monday and Thursday at 7 AM my time. Another one I listen to is Friday at noon if every other week. So it becomes an expectation. So
Hmm.
when people are expecting a post from you every morning or an email every morning, whatever they expect, if you miss it, it really does mess up their day. They go, "Oh," or they have that feeling of like they were ready for it and then it wasn't there. So don't let just don't let the whatever it is hold you back. Like just find that consistency. And that's the important thing is if you can only post once a week, then say you're going to publish weekly. Don't say you're going to do every day if you can't do every day. And if you can't do every week and you do every 2 weeks, just tell people that so they know what to expect. It's
Hmm.
better to promise what you can expect than to overpromise. Like if you promise every day, but you only publish 3 times a week, it's better to publish once a week
Right.
because you have that consistency and promise that. And then sometimes deliver extra episodes or extra newsletters.
Yeah. And I think that there's, on the back end testing, there is definitely a difference with the YouTube versus the LinkedIn. And that's in your benefit, whoever's listening, because if you're more in the beginning of your journey as a creator and may not be so technical, and really be focused on your business, it's okay if your thumbnails on LinkedIn are not as advanced or dramatic as the thumbnails that you see all over YouTube. Um, it may actually be in your favor to create something a little bit more simpler, depending on what it is that your audience, the problem that you solve for them and stuff. I think because Jonathan, oh, do you want me to share that, Jonathan?
Oh no.
Oh, okay. I'm like sharing a screen. No, I saw a movie. So I think that because Jonathan's brand is like heavily revolving around AI, it makes sense. But if you were, let's say, talking to financial advisors, you may want to go more like towards basic design, right? Um,
Yeah.
it depends. That's why testing is
Talk about
important.
branding. Yeah, people talk about branding so much on LinkedIn and personal branding, and it really starts with who is your ideal audience. So who
Hmm.
is the person you want reading your newsletter? And then you say, well, what kind of newsletter do they want to read? That's what you create. Same thing for your videos. It's better to have 10 people that want to be your customers than a million people that don't.
Hmm.
So start from the point of what do they like? What do they not like? And you'll find that there's some variance. A lot of what I create is a lot of AI art, so people expect it, but it matches my personality, it matches the type of content I create. But find your lane. You don't have to do exactly what Phil, Shanae, or I am doing. Just find something that works for you, that you enjoy, and then find that consistency.
And I think one thing to mention that was mentioned to me as some advice is that how long do you test before you scrap something or move on to a different idea? I was told about like 4 or 5 times. So you need to give something enough time to get traction, but you don't want to stay on it too long. So that's another balance. Um, and so I'd say maybe like 4 editions. If you don't see any significant difference, then test something else.
Yeah, exactly. Don't be afraid to go back to old editions. And this applies in so many spaces. I know an author whose books just weren't working and they redid all their covers going back like 10 years and it turned everything around.
Yeah, I love
So
it.
just you can always go back.
So where can people follow you, Jonathan, other than LinkedIn? Like, is there anything you want them to message you, or where do they
Yeah.
go for your book?
Yeah, you can go to servetomaster.com/gift and get a free copy of my bestseller, ChatGPT Profits. If you click on my profile on LinkedIn, the link is right in my bio as well. So definitely find me on LinkedIn, Jonathan Green. You can just search Serve No Master. If you go to Google and type in Serve No Master, every result is me. It's all me.
servenomaster.com/gift. You could get the
Yeah.
free ebook, ChatGPT Profits. And I think it's great. And I think like one of the best things, Jonathan, pertaining to learning AI skills and like what you teach is that the things that you teach are useful for business owners who already have a lot on their plate and who don't just want to stay up with like the latest trends of AI that won't be useful to them and could potentially be a huge distraction to them. So you share what's helpful.
I really focus on, and that's my guiding light, is what's useful for your business, not what's interesting. There's a lot of cool stuff that's cool but not interesting, but that becomes a distraction. So all my tutorials, all my lessons are designed to show you minimum effort, maximum result to help you get a change in your business, whether it's generating revenue or creating a better thumbnail, as little as possible.
I love it. And we'll have Jonathan on a lot more, like, at least once a week for the AI stuff. I think will be cool. Maybe every
Love
other
it.
week we'll talk about it. But if you have questions, reach out to Jonathan. We hope you guys had a good week. And I'll probably be live on YouTube tomorrow. We'll definitely be live on, 4 or 5 times next week. So just stay tuned to the channel, subscribe, share it with a friend, and connect with Jonathan on LinkedIn. God bless you. Ciao.